Hi everyone, my name is Kendrick and welcome to ENFP Mail. Today I get to interview Kelly. So Kelly, welcome.
Hi, thanks.
So Kelly, when did you get type and what was your official type? Can you give us like the full animals and sexual modality?
Yeah, so I was phone typed last week by Dave and Shan later as double feminine, SEFI, consume, sleep, blast, play. But I sort of think I'm audio, but they were sort of unsure about that. So
Gotcha. So you are the most introverted ESFP type, like the most dead
yeah,
introverted.
the most sleepy you can get.
Yeah. Who was in your celebrity list? Like, did you?
Jordan Byers. I think she's in the class list too. She's a makeup YouTuber. So
Gotcha. Okay, just
yeah.
curious, like who would be like the most introverted ESFP type. So what did you think and how did you feel when you got your results back?
Yeah, I was really surprised at the EP thing because I thought it was an IJ. I thought it was like NITE, blast, sleep, consume, play, so still play last. Um, yeah, I thought it was an NT, and I guess I'm not. So I think the first thing that was really surprising was Savior masculine FI because I thought it was demon all this time, and I guess like masculine FI is sort of like the least like emotional of all of them seemingly, and so I thought I had a demon because I was like, oh, I hate feelings, you know. But then I like know what I like, so like really strongly. So I
Yeah.
guess so. Yeah.
What
And
why don't
then
why don't we start with that? Can you tell us like what you like? Like what is in your FI?
FI music. I like cities. I also like quiet things or quiet atmospheres. I can tell you what like don't like more,
Sure, yeah,
actually.
tell us
Yeah.
what you
I
like.
know I don't like in terms of like school and stuff, I don't like chem or bio lab, so wet lab. And I don't like coding in terms of like straight coding as a job, so like pure software. Um yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like English or math either, or English and history either. And I knew from a young age I wouldn't go into pure math because it was a little too it's like not applicable in real life, I guess. And also it just wasn't in my FI box or NI box, whatever. So yeah, those are some of the things.
You have double activated NI and it's
hmm
masculine. So what is that like? That should be interesting.
It is interesting because I thought it was feminine for the longest time because I couldn't tell. Um, I think this is why I thought it was an IJ is because I thought I had all these OI problems, like too much control and then not enough chaos, I guess. Because I also like asked the people around me what are some of my flaws, and then my mother who knows me for a really long time, she was like, "Yeah, you're too uptight. You want to over prepare everything." I'm like, "I know. Ever since I started like relaxing a little bit in college, it was like fine, you know." So I thought it was OI. Masculine NI, I'm not really sure because yeah, I don't know. It seems like I forget patterns. Yeah, I don't really know so about masculine and I.
But when you have a vision for your future, are you set on that vision? Like you don't want to deviate from it? Like for example, like a lot of people with masculine NI, let's say you're an INFJ and your masculine NI tells you that you should be a psychiatrist or work in psychology, and that's it. Like you won't listen to anybody. It's just psychology. It's a straight
Mhm.
line, straight to psychology. So do you have that like masculine NI kind of like future aspirations?
I think I kind of do because I know like for me music is like the strongest thing in my like NI box right now and I know I'll continue that path for a long time, but in terms of that sort of career thing, it's changed based off of the tribe's TE input, you know. So for example, it's like, oh, I want music to remain in my life forever, but I don't have to do all these exact steps. I can change the path a little bit based on like sense ST like practical logic and the current circumstance. So like the goal is there, but like the way to get there can change depending on TE input, is what it seems like.
Do you have the regular tidal waves that ESFPs have with like NI last, lacking discipline, and then because you lack discipline, someone else will control you, that kind of deal. Do you struggle with that?
I would say it's the opposite because like I always thought I had too much self-discipline. First with like eating clean and then later with like grades and like math especially. I was like super hard on myself about that. And then even now sometimes like practicing piano can be like a little hard too and I'm learning how to balance between pushing myself too much and then also knowing when to like take a break. So no, I guess I controlled myself a lot, is what it seems like.
Is it? Would you say it's because you have double masculine sleep? Would you say that's making you
Yeah,
in a savior state
yeah, that. Hmm?
also? Your double masculine sleep is in a savior state also. So
Yeah, it's definitely something to do with that like double activated sleep and that like masculine. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of like Kobe Bryant, right? Like he has
Mm-hmm.
amazing self discipline, and he's an ESFP. You know, the only difference is he's blast last instead of play last. But
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, he had like tremendous self control. So he definitely reaped the benefit of that. In his career. So would you say because you've been working maybe by default on self discipline that you've kind of reaped the benefit from it? Like you probably do well in school, or do you do well in music?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say?
Yeah, I'd say like it has paid off because I graduated college. I have a good like okay-ish paying job. Um, yeah, yes is the answer to that question. Yeah.
But you're still an EP at the end of the day. So can you talk about like being comfortable with chaos, and like when chaos happens, you're kind of like, yeah, I can roll with it.
Yeah, actually the other day I like sort of thought about it because one of our locks on the bedroom broke. Like it got jammed so you couldn't open the door and somebody was stuck inside. It
Yeah,
was like kind of chaotic because we had like break open the lock and everything. It was all metal and we had like saw it off eventually.
yeah,
In the beginning it's like, oh, this is kind of exciting and new from my daily work routine. This is kind of nice. Yeah. So I was like, oh, I can take chaos and I can do NI. This is not too bad. This is not too bad.
yeah. Okay, that's awesome because then you're one of the most well balanced type as a result. Because even though your NI is last, it's double activated as masculine. So plus you have that sleep and blast. So you are using it. But then at the same time, you're still an EP, and when chaos happens, you're not like freaked out by it. It kind of excites you. It's not like
Yeah, I
something.
was like, oh, something new, finally.
Yeah, exactly. Talk about your feminine SE. So do you have a bad memory? Like, do you forget like facts and details?
I think I say if I care about it, I forget about it really fast. So like relatives, so many relatives on like Asian side. But I also have like a freakishly weird like good memory about certain things I do like. So like I used to play Pokemon a lot as a kid, and like there's certain like Pokemon sounds from the games that I can like recall if I just hear it, and just other things. And I'm like pretty good at number memory too. Where if I like type it in once, I'll remember it for like the next few hours pretty well. And if I keep using it, it'll be ingrained in my memory. So kind of.
You said you're Asian side, so you're half Asian.
Oh no, I'm all Asian.
Okay.
But yeah, all of them basically. But one
Okay.
side, they're equally big. Yeah.
So you are info dominant because you have blast and consume in your first three animals. Talk about being info dominant, like your obsession with having the most accurate information. You know.
Yeah, I think my friend definitely has like probably not info dominant and probably feminine sensory. So when she says like a fact that's wrong, I have this like urge to correct her, be like, no, it's this instead, you know? Yeah.
At the same time, you have feminine SE, so you're gonna forget the information. So how does that work? That's kind of like an almost like contradiction because you're info dominant,
Yeah.
but then you have feminine sensory. So it's like, yeah, you want to be accurate with the details, but then you're gonna forget the details too at the same time.
Maybe it depends on like recency, because if it's something I like recently saw or consumed, then maybe I can remember it better.
Yeah,
Or if it's something like really jarring or like really interesting, it'll stick in my brain better, and I'll be like, no, because this fact is interesting, and I like still remember it. So maybe it's like that.
gotcha. Now, what kind of problems have you had with your life because you have play last?
Problems? It's hard. I haven't really thought of this.
You want some examples?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so typically people with play last tend to get that IP syndrome, tribe hate. So have you gotten any tribe hate because of play last?
Maybe when I was little, a little bit. Like, if I were to talk to like some of my Asian relatives in like China, and they have different customs, and like I don't really know sort of the culture over there, maybe I say something too straightforward and it like doesn't fit with the culture. But it's not really tribe hate because they're like, oh, she's just American Chinese and she's like 7, who cares, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Mm.
that was very double decider if you to see the tribe's point of view, even though you're play last. But
Yeah.
I think that's amazing because even if you're play last, you can still see the tribe's point of view. Um, okay, so if you're not getting any tribe hate, what about low energy? Do you have problems with low energy? Because you know, people would play last. You either have problems with dealing with the tribe, or coming across as too selfish, or you're just in a constant state of low energy or energy preservation. Can you talk about that instead?
Yeah, so like sometimes like if I'm hanging out with my family, they like to go grocery shopping hopping and they go like 3 to 5 places like in a row. After like one or two, I like get really tired. I'm just like, can we not go to the rest, please? Even though I'm not the one driving even, I just have to like sit and stand, you know?
Yeah.
But I just get tired because I'm like, can I just go home and just like be still? Yeah.
Okay. Um, it's interesting that that's happening to you with your energy being drained really quickly. I met one of the ENFPs who are playlasts in person. Her name's Hannah. I don't know if you've seen that interview with her, but I traveled to Finland and I actually met up with her in person. And it was kind of interesting because she was play last, but her play was really good. So her biggest problem wasn't actually interacting with the tribe. Her biggest problem was that she's not aware that her energy gets sapped really quickly. Like
Oh, I see.
she'll just burn her energy and then it'll be gone. So she's actually quite energetic for like a play
Mm-hmm.
last person.
Yeah, yeah.
But like the battery level, it's quite low. Like it's weird. Like imagine someone being hyper and then it's like out of battery and they just shut down. So
Yeah, that's fast.
do you think that happens to you? Like
Yes,
you
yes.
like you're maybe like you're energetic and then out of nowhere you're like, what the I'm out of energy already. Like.
Yeah. So I like recently graduated from college, so it's like kind of fresh, but I'd say like the last 4 semesters ish, I really took like a lot of units and I just kept increasing the number of units I took. So like more and more classes. And
Yeah.
then I almost broke last semester, but then COVID happened and so everything dropped off. So I got really lucky there. But otherwise I would like be on the way to like burnout or something by that last semester because I was just taking so many things.
Now, because you have sleep second and play last, are you constantly setting boundaries with the tribe? Like when the tribe wants you to do something you don't want to do, it's easy for you to say no.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Do I have any examples? Yeah, so I joined a sorority. And you know, sometimes if I'm like feeling a little off or I'm like feeling really drained by the end of the week, I'll like not go to an event that I was like maybe I was gonna go later that week. So I'll like set that boundary in terms of energy. I know I have a lot of friend hangouts coming up this week. I did a lot of play energy this week, and so I know like the next 2 weeks I'm like gotta minimize social interaction as much as possible. I'm gonna be so tired. So that's sort of how I do it.
Do you enjoy the social interaction?
Yeah, I hang out with the people I like Fi like, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's fun to blast every once in a while because it gets charged as I consume sleep all the time. So yeah.
So when you're hanging with people that's in your FI box, do you get drained still by the
Um,
interaction or not? Because I've seen people who are with sleep demon or sorry with play demon, but when they spend time with people they like, it's not so bad. Like they don't really get drained. It's more okay. Like
yeah, yeah, I would say that because I just hung out with a friend yesterday, and you know, afterwards I was still like, oh, that was so fun, you know, wow. So I wasn't like completely drained. So yes, I would say that.
and at some point, like if you really had a good interaction, would you say it actually boosts your energy?
Actually, it does. You're right. Yeah,
Okay. So the interesting thing here is that if someone the criteria for that is number one, the person has to be in your FI box to begin with.
yeah,
And number two, it has to be like a great interaction. So great interaction plus FI box equals no energy loss from the tribe, but you actually
yeah, yeah,
energize.
yeah. You're right. It's more like, wow, that was great. That's kind of fun. Should do it again.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, okay, that's cool. Um, it's interesting that you thought you were an INTJ because you pretty much type yourself upside down,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yep.
they predicted would happen for most people. But the interesting thing though is that you still saw all the functions that INTJs have because you guys have the exact same functions. So,
Mm-hmm.
what's your take on that? Like knowing that you at least felt like you can see all the functions that INTJs had, and you felt like you had all of them. And even though you type yourself upside down, when you were typed as an ESFP, you're like, okay, well, it's still the same function. So
Yeah, so when they told me they were sensing the same function, I was like, yeah, because I was watching like Dave and Shani other videos, and I felt like their language was kind of similar to mine. It's not as, I don't know. I guess they like make fun of like big vocabulary sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't use that word either. We just talk simple all the time. Um, I saw TEFI first, because I was like, FE makes no sense. Like when I see it in a class, like Mindy Kaling talking, I'm just like, I don't know what she's saying. Like I hear the words, but I don't get what she's saying. And then I think I was torn between like confused about SINE versus SENI until I saw like a bunch of their clips really comparing SI versus NI and how they organize things. And so I was like, okay, I think I organize more the NI way rather than SI. And so that's how I was like not so surprised at the functions.
so you're organizing concepts and ideas, not physical objects.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
talk about how you organize your ideas because there's a misconception that ESFPs don't know how to organize their concepts and they're just living in a moment all the time. But you're kind of like the weird ESFP who kind of lives in the introverted world. So talk about you organizing your ideas.
Hmm. I would say like I'll talk with about OPS first. Like the coins really make sense. So I really do organize OPS just by like the simple binary coins. And then, when I sort of see somebody new, I'm like, oh, it's this coin. And then so the coins really make sense for that. Um I had something in my mind, I totally forgot what it was. Oh, yeah, sometimes like I have this thing I call in my head called like the law of opposites. So when like something it's kind of hard to explain, but when I see something opposing something else in nature, then I'm like, oh, wow, it's the law of opposites again, and then I'll just call it that for fun, even though there's plenty of other things that fall outside of that law. I still see a lot of interesting things like, um, I guess with Dave and Shan, their animal stacks are like pretty reversed. So it's like, oh, law of opposites, opposites attract, kind of. Um, yeah, that's the concept that I have a name for. Other things, not really. But when I was looking at one of their most recent SI versus NI videos, and I saw the NI guy like sort of give an overview of the dams broke, that's what happened, and then give like random SC details. I'm like, okay, that's how I would explain it. I'd say, here's a context, the dams broke, and then I wouldn't really care too much about how like the dams, like the facts about the dams and stuff like that. So
Gotcha. I think I saw that video, the one that there's two people that is it the two people who
mhm.
recorded the exact same thing, and then
Yeah, yeah. And then one was like NI, the other one's SI, and I'm like, oh my god.
yeah. Um, let's go back to your play. Your play last is ST. So talk about what ST play is like. Like, do you like dad jokes, or do you have trouble with like discussing facts with the tribe? Is that something that you don't do?
I wouldn't say I have like trouble discussing facts, but maybe that's where like the info dominant thing comes in, where I want to make sure like your facts are correct.
Yeah,
Another thing I sort of do is like I roast my friends, but I roast based off of the facts I've collected about them.
I see.
So like, yeah, my friend's like, oh, you always forget this, and I'll like roast her because she forgot it again.
Gotcha. Um, your consume is SF. So what are you consuming? Are you consuming like trashy TV shows, or like this really dumb shit? Like what is SF? What is your SF?
Oh man.
What is your SF?
Yeah, yeah, I thought about this question for a little bit because I like it comes up in your interviews and stuff. Actually, mine is sort of like a bougie version. So I'm like really conscious about like if I want to feed my brain, if I want my brain to be like good working, I want to feed it good content, like eating healthy food. you know? So I'm like really picky about the stuff I watch. I like usually see what the reviews are online or just sort of, you know, guess based off of what I liked before if I will like this one, if this is good quality. So I really try to consume quality things, but occasionally I'll like fall for a trap and like consume something really trashy in like a day. So because it's interesting.
Do you enjoy it when you consume the trashy stuff too?
Yeah, yeah, it's addicting. You know, those like weird shows on Netflix. Oh my god.
So that's your crack essentially. That's your
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, this concept is so interesting. Let me watch the whole thing. And then my sister's like, bro, it's so fake. I'm like, oh, oops.
yeah, but you don't care because it's cool.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So SF, it's SF cool, right? So it's kind of interesting that you read the reviews first before you consume something because you're kind of like looking at what's popular too, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Your sleep is NF. Talk about your NF. You're an NF. You have NF savior. Let's talk about being NF savior.
Yeah, so I think inwardly, like I won't necessarily like say it out loud, but inwardly I think I do a lot of like hippie things. So like for example, if I like have somewhere on my body that like hurts, I'll be like, okay, let's like meditate and let's like breathe into that spot so we can like dispel the energy there, you know, sort of like end of hippie shit, you know.
Yeah.
Um and also like crystals. Crystals I don't like I'm not like a crystal fanatic, but when I saw it, I was just like, oh, I want a crystal. So I healing, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Didn't work, but you know, I have pretty crystals with me now. So I mean
It's still SF cool.
yeah, it's like oh yeah, SF pretty to my FI, you know.
Yeah, the NF didn't work, but doesn't matter because it's still SF cool.
Yeah, I was like it's pretty. It doesn't take up too much space. It's fine.
I like how you still gather the facts after you tried the NF stuff. You're like, you got the NF, then you gather the fact. You're like, it didn't work. That's still cool. You know, like
Yeah, like yeah, might as well. It's okay.
you have NT Blast. It's a demon. It's your third
Mm.
animal. Talk about your NT Blast.
Yeah, so if I have to explain something like OP to somebody, I think I can explain the concept pretty well. I might not use a lot of analogies, but I'll be able to give the sensory, I guess, sort of like the big overall concepts in like a sensory clear way. So like when I blast it to my friends, it like sort of makes sense to them, you know? And then I feel like when I'm sleep processing or like thinking, sometimes I'll also blast to myself to like clarify the muddly FI thoughts.
That's your. Are your friends into the OPS stuff?
Nope, not
No.
really. Yeah, but you know, once I was like done consume sleeping it for a long time, I just really needed to blast to somebody, so they just like listen.
I find it interesting that every group of friends, there's like that one person that likes OPS, and everyone else thinks it's crap. You know, like it's
Yeah.
like I always found it like funny because in my group of friends, you know, I've mentioned it before, but no one cared, right? And then you know, I mean, my sister loves it, but even my sister's friend, only she cares about it. The other friends just think the you know, it's like who cares? It's like
Mhm.
who cares? Why obsessing over this like personality stuff? You know, so
Mhm. Yeah.
so I don't know why that's happening. I'm just kind of curious. Um, one of the things that I found interesting is that when you were talking about play earlier, it seems like your play is okay. Like you can like play with a
Mhm.
tribe. You know, you can engage with a tribe. It's more like the energy that you have issues with.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know if David Shan mentioned that you can use your play or not, but
Mhm.
when I got my audios back from them, like when I got type, they said I can use sleep even though I'm sleep last,
Mhm.
but I still have trouble with setting priority and managing my energy. But I can sleep process my emotions. So for you, it seems like with people when you have something that's last, you might be able to use like half of it. You know, but
Yeah. Yes.
it's like
Mhm.
it's like a struggle. So for you, it seems
Mhm.
like engaging with a tribe is like okay, but
Mhm.
then energy when it comes to energy expenditure, it's like oh, it's like messed up. Like you don't know how to do it properly. You know, you
Mhm.
have,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
like I'll use any analogy right now. You know, it's like you know you take like a soda bottle right or a can and you shake it right,
Mhm.
but like for you it's almost like you just popped it and it explodes right, and then it's like gone. You have no more energy left. But like but technically what you're supposed to learn to do is like gradually like you know, it's like when you have a
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
Mhm.
slowly let the air
Yeah.
out so it doesn't explode.
Yeah.
You have like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Because then otherwise all the things
Uh,
come out and you have no energy left, right? So it seems like that's what you're like struggling with. It's like you don't know how to like
yeah.
gradually like, open the cap, you know?
You're right, dude. Like this week is all my play energy, the most play energy I've had in like a month. So, and it's all during this week. You're right. Yeah.
But it also means like you're exploding like too much in one go instead of like letting it seep out like gradually.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
like what you're doing is you're doing it all week, right? Now it's gonna explode, then you'll be like dead afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm the opposite. Like I'm sleep last. So for me, I need to be taking like lots of like naps, throughout the day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And when
Oh, yeah.
I do feel good, and I need to set boundaries with the tribe, micro boundaries, right? So
Mhm.
so those are the things that I need to do. So we have like opposite problems, but kind of similar because they're energy related.
Mhm. True.
Although your first animal is an information animal, my first one is the energy animal. So what is your take on that? Like you have consume first. So
Mhm.
it's not like your energy animal is your first, it's your second. So they said that your first animal is where you have like an oversensitivity to something, right? I don't know
Mhm.
if you've heard David Shannon talk about oversensitivity to your first animal, but do you feel like you have an oversensitivity to consume? You know, like you're just
I
going too
hmm.
crazy on it, like consume monster.
Oh, kind of, yeah. Like back in the day when I was really into like anime or something, or just like binge watching shows,
Yeah,
like middle school, definitely like a huge binger, like 10 episodes a day, something like that. Especially if it's like really catches my attention.
yeah,
Um, I guess about being sensitive to it is like maybe that's why I'm like so aware of what I consume too, because I'm like I want to feed my brain good energy.
yeah,
So I'm like extra picky about that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for me personally, I noticed because I have play first and sleep last, that when I deal with a tribe, I almost get to the point where I don't know when to stop the interaction. Like
Mhm.
it's like I have trouble wrapping it up. It's like, hey,
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm gonna go home. I'll see you next time. Like I have trouble,
Mhm.
or like I'm talking to someone on the phone. I don't know when to hang up. Like it's
Mhm.
and I
Yeah,
noticed
yeah.
this also. Like even if they're an IP, but they have like sleep loss, I also noticed they have the same problem. Like one of my
Interesting.
best friends growing up, I didn't even know this, but I just realized he was an ISTP. Um, he gets a lot of tribe hate. I just noticed like people want to beat him up. Growing up,
Oh my god.
like yeah, we had like the whole grade run after him to like beat him up because he's just the guy that causes tribe hate nonstop. And even now he's an adult, he's still causing tribe hate for himself, right? But he
Mhm.
has like play savior and he has like sleep last. So like
Oh.
we would talk on the phone for like 2 or 3 hours a day, like growing up, and no one would know who like when to hang up because it's like because it's like
You
both
just
want to,
keep playing. Wow.
because it's both sleep last, both have play savior, like it's so I thought it was interesting. But what about you? Like, are you someone that would like abruptly stop an interaction when maybe you should keep going? Because a lot of people would play last. Some of the problems that they're having is like you live in your head, right?
Mhm.
In fact,
Yeah.
the places where you're supposed to be consuming or gathering information is from the tribe. So do you feel like you're not doing enough of that, of like getting the information from the tribe, or you know
Hmm. I feel like nowadays it's like at a better level, but I think the struggle comes with asking other people for information. So like, at work, I like work in like a team, and then I'm like also fairly new to it, so there's a lot I don't know, and so there's a lot I have to ask the tribe. Every time I have to like go ask the tribe, I have to like give myself like a small pep talk, like it's okay, just ask, it's fine. So that I think is the hardest thing to do. Not really sure if the interaction thing is ever awkward. Not lately, at least. Maybe I've like trained that a little bit, but definitely like asking other people for more information is definitely something I don't like to do.
what is it inside of you that is making you feel apprehensive to ask questions from the tribe? Like
I think
what are you scared of?
I think it's like I don't want to bother them. Um, that's like the first thing that comes in mind. Yeah, yeah, I just don't want to bother them. I just leave them alone. Leave me alone. If I knew how to do everything, I would just do it all and it'd be fine.
when people ask you questions, do you feel like they're bothering you?
Actually, not really. Unless it's like 100 a day or something, But occasionally, yeah. So if I like think about it like that, sometimes somebody asking me a question is like a nice break from my work, so it's like kind of fun to interact.
Yeah.
So I should just think about it that way.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
if you're not like I have this problem where I'm a machine gun of questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I am bothering people, so I think in your situation, you are probably not doing it enough from the sound of
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah, probably. I mean, like,
yeah,
I do like try to force my sleep processing to stop because I know, like, to a point when I'm working, I'm like, okay, I really can't figure this out on my own. I just have to ask somebody. So I'll just like stop thinking and just do it. And I'll just go ask and it gets resolved. So,
you are a tester and what's the other one?
visual.
Visual, yeah. I don't blanked out there for a second. So what is your experience with tester? So what I've seen so far is, so, for example, like I've seen some INTJs who, they don't like to leave their NI box, right? But for some reason, they love to test different food out. Suddenly they have like this weird like gathering experimentation kind of side of to them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you're an EP and you're a tester, so you're gonna be like crazy when it comes to gathering and experimentation and trying different things out. So talk about that. Like talk about you experimenting or testing different things out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so definitely food is the biggest one. I think for a while, like Whole Foods had some like on sale for like this nice granola that I like, and then I said to my friend, we have to buy all the flavors, and it was like 7 or 8 different ones. So we
Yeah.
did buy all of them, and we split the cost. And it was
Yeah.
great because I could like try all of them. When there's like I think when my family and I went traveling to like Japan and Taiwan and everything, all the cool like little mini Haagen-Dazs flavors we'd also try. We like buy it and try it, and it's like small enough so that when we eat it, we like aren't super full and everything. Yeah, basically the goal of all our travels is like eat food and try different foods and try like all the best foods too. You know,
Do you have like tester family members? Is everyone in your family like double
it's
feminine?
like probably like maybe my sister is audio. But like my mom is probably like feminine sensory too, from
Yeah.
what I can tell. Yeah.
Your dad too? Is like that too?
Yeah, probably.
Are they
Yeah.
both pretty like flexible with the tribe?
Yes, I have a feeling my mom is like some sort of EJ maybe. So I guess a different kind of flexible with the tribe. Yeah. Not really sure. I think she has FE. So yeah, flexible with the tribe. Hmm.
So we haven't covered this yet, but talk about having feminine TE. What is your feminine TE like?
Yeah, I think it seems like a pushover sometimes because I'm like also quiet and it's like feminine te. So like when I interact with the tribe I don't want to like punch them or anything or make them angry, plus it's also like low play, so it's like
Yeah.
it seems like it's extra pushover like.
Yeah.
um yeah, that's the best explanation I can come up with. Because when I was also asking all my friends like, oh, what are my strengths and weaknesses, a lot of them said you seem like a pushover, you have to like ask other people and get their approval before you do something. So that was like probably feminine te. And also like I definitely don't have dog energy, so it's definitely like a cat energy sort of thing.
Yeah. I find that so ironic. It's almost like a weird paradox, like a lot of people who are mopey,
Mm-hmm.
they seem like they're the pushover and they seem like they're the tribe above self because they kind of just go with the flow with the tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but how do you feel inside when the tribe's getting you to do something? Are you cool with just like going with the flow? Like, does that bother you, or you're cool with it? Like, it doesn't matter.
I think most of the time I'm cool with it. It's if it really hits my FI box, and then if I like watch and see like will it cost too much energy for me to like spring up my masculine FI to change everybody's mind, or is it easier to just go with the flow? But if it's with like people I'm closer to, then I can be a little pushier with my FI, and so my opinions will come out more.
Do you think um do you think people who are more like IP-ish like you,
Mm-hmm.
how would you say your self-confidence, like what is your self-confidence like? Do you feel like you're pretty like you have a lot of self-acceptance, you have a lot of self-confidence, or like you're just sure of yourself? Would you say that you have all those qualities?
Yes. Right now, yes. Before, I feel like I had pretty low self-esteem just because it felt like I couldn't do anything right.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I wasn't good at anything, you know? And then slowly, as I started to build myself, like academically, musically, whatever, and like health-wise, then that's when I started gaining that momentum and then that confidence that, yeah, I can probably do anything I set out to, you know, with like enough effort. But it's like, now the question is like, is that effort worth it?
Well, there's a difference between self-esteem and self-confidence, right? Like self-esteem is like
Mm-hmm.
pretty much how much you like yourself, essentially.
Oh.
But like self-confidence is like, you know, like do you have the confidence to apply yourself and get things done, in like any given
Mm-hmm.
situation, essentially. So how would you rate your self-esteem and also your self-confidence, you know?
I'd say both of them are like maybe higher than average. It's definitely not like I don't, well, I guess I sort of just explained like the whole self-esteem part. Self-confidence, I think, is also about that level too, you know. If I really need to get something done, I'm confident that I can, you know, gather all the things I need and like figure it out and complete it. Is that sort of what you're getting at, or is that different?
Yeah, I guess so. Like, I mean, for me personally, I've felt like my self-esteem is pretty good. Like I've really worked on it over the years and I feel like it's pretty high up there. But my self-confidence, I would say it's like medium. So that's kind of like how I would rank it. It could improve,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
could like trust myself more when it comes to making a decision for myself. Like I was listening to an audiobook recently called Relentless. I don't know if you've heard of it,
Mm-hmm.
but
No, but
yeah, it's basically the author is like Michael Jordan's coach, and
wow.
he wrote a book, and like an audiobook
Mm-hmm.
on being relentless, and pretty much the whole book, like if I were to sum it up, it's trusting your gut and just like making it, and
Oh.
not needing to like ping off the tribe to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
your gut tells you need to do this, and then you do it, right,
Mm-hmm.
and then you do it with no apology and no apprehension, and it's just just trusting your gut and just going 100% all in. And then when I was listening to it, I was like, oh my god, this is challenging for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
lack that self-confidence that what my gut tells me is good enough, like I don't need
Mm-hmm. I
external
see.
feedback. So
Mm-hmm.
what about you? Do you feel like, do you need that external feedback to get things done, or you're completely cool with just like, okay, your gut tells you to do this and you're gonna do it?
I definitely think my self-confidence is lower than my self-esteem then after hearing that. I
Yeah.
definitely need to like get ping back from the tribe. I'm always like a little paranoid, like, is this decision bad? And then, you know, I definitely have to ping off the tribe for that sort of third party perspective. Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So in that sense, yeah, you like yourself,
Yeah.
but then when it comes to
Yeah.
applying whatever it is that you want to do inside and trusting
Mm-hmm.
yourself to do it, it's not like the highest. It's a work in
Nope.
progress also.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Definitely.
Okay, no, that's I just think that's interesting. Do you think that's also cultural though, like outside of like op? Would you?
Hmm. Cultural?
Because
Like an Asian? Yeah.
Asian people are more meek and like a pushy,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Probably Asian culture, huh?
Well, except for
Yeah, because
Koreans. I think Koreans are more assertive, but like
Koreans, yeah, maybe, yeah, possibly.
yeah.
um yeah, so I guess I'm Chinese. What was the question? It was self-confidence
Do you think
and
it's a cultural factor, like for self confidence, to just not?
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, because like in Chinese culture, like parents are really like protective, especially after like the one child policy.
yeah,
You know, like they were all super protective of their one child, and maybe some of that still persists today because it just got recently opened up.
yeah,
So I think so, yeah, because parents are always worried about like, oh my gosh, if you do, parents are always like, I don't want you to walk down the wrong life path, and so they'll do everything they can, even if it means like becoming your enemy, to like stop you from making what they perceive are mistakes.
yeah.
Even though sometimes you just have to make a mistake yourself to really learn from that, and sometimes the mistake is not that bad as they think.
So it
So
sounds like the Asian culture is very TI, like what logically makes sense.
Yeah, I would say it's also pretty FE in general, like
Yeah,
Asian culture. Yeah, which is why like masculine FI just like what the fuck is that, right?
yeah. It seems like the Asian culture is like feminine FE and masculine
Oh
TI,
yeah,
something like
dude,
that.
so true.
Yeah, because you're trying to like when you're in public with everyone, everyone's trying to be like really gentle and like really friendly. It's like, hey,
Yeah,
want some tea? Are you comfortable?
yeah, I'll pay for the bill. Yeah.
It's like very soft. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But it's
Yeah.
like hardcore, like meticulous, and like
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to dissecting things.
I know, right? Or like career, like doctor, engineer, or disgrace.
Yeah,
Type
yeah. Those
thing.
are all like TI careers probably. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but so it's kind of like the opposite because as a Chinese person, your FI doesn't really matter, right? so,
Yeah. Which means
so
it like just looks extra punchy when I use it.
yeah, so let's talk about that then. So what happens when you use that masculine FI? Because the tribe will have you being Chinese, you have your
Mm-hmm.
Chinese values, right? But you're also American, so you have the American and then the Chinese values, and they kind of like conflict with each other. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so what is your take on that? Like you see the values of your two sides, being American and being Chinese. So you see that,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're also yourself. You're Kelly, right? So you have your own set of values.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
like how are you operating then? Like do you accept some of the American values, some of the Chinese values, and then you have your own, and then you kind of jumble together and pick whatever
Mm-hmm.
you like, or are you just kind of going all in and like yourself or one of those other categories?
Mm-hmm. I think for the most part, I definitely identify more with American culture just because I think they're also more accepting of, like individualism, this whole like FI thing probably fits in better.
Yeah,
Also because I like mostly grew up here and also because my immediate family is not super Asian, like stereotypical Asian. So I
yeah,
was able to grow up a little bit outside of that. Um, and then I definitely do appreciate some aspects of Chinese culture, like they're respectful to the elderly. And, they're like, I think they're pretty friendly in general in China in the public, I've heard. Um, so there's aspects of it I respect, and then I think I'll probably incorporate into my own life, like respecting the elder sort of thing because they're old and stuff. But I would say majority is definitely like more American influenced. And I think the way like Chinese culture generally views that sort of like masculine FI punchiness is like, you're so idealistic. Or it's more like, why are you trying to be different? When really it's just like your FI just doesn't match FE. So like what?
yeah.
So yeah.
um First comment, like I've been to China, people are actually really nice there. I was so surprised. like
Mhm. Yeah.
like
Yeah. Generally they are. Yeah.
yeah, I was in the airport and like the airport police was so friendly, like guided me to the right place that I need to.
True. True. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really big surprise to me. I was like, wow, people are really friendly here. But the FI thing is very interesting because again, like I'm quoting the book because that's what I'm listening to right now, the Relentless book, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole book is like an FI book. Like, I feel like because in the book, like this, well, I'm listening to the audiobook. The guy said that when you're a baby, you're like an FI machine. You don't give a shit about what anyone do. You're gonna do whatever it takes to get what you want. If you have to cry and whine and be like a little asshole, then that's what you're gonna do, and
Oh.
and you're gonna get like the attention that you want, the food that you want, whatever it is that you want,
Mm-hmm.
you get it. And as you get older, people start putting that boundaries around you, like saying, okay, don't do that, you're gonna get hurt, or don't do that, don't do, like
Mm-hmm.
different
Mm-hmm.
parameters around you. And then you start learning, like, okay, I can't do this, I can't do this.
Mm-hmm.
But in your core, you like if you had it your way, you still know who you are, and you know
Mm-hmm.
you still want to FI. So, like,
Wow.
what is like what kind of parameters would you say that you've kind of accepted outside your
Oh,
FI?
I see. I guess the general consensus that like money is good, so don't be too overly idealistic. Parameters. I guess I've accepted a lot of the parameters because growing up, I was like, okay, good grades, get to good college with a practical major. So I like sort of did all that correctly too.
Yeah.
And then if you really ask like all the relatives around, they're like, yeah, she was a pretty obedient kid. So I think I accepted most of the parameters, you
Okay.
know? And then now that I'm like developing, I'm like, okay, let's see which parameters I can push so that I can give my FI some freedom.
Did you like following those parameters though? Did your FI like following those parameters?
Um, maybe not. In terms of like maybe like getting good grades and stuff, I felt like a lot of it was self-imposed. It wasn't even like culturally. It was like I have to get straight A's in this, otherwise I won't get into good college. So I don't know if there's like a like or dislike. It was hard, but I think a lot of it was also self-imposed.
Okay, so I think if it was self-imposed, that's okay because you
Yeah.
apply the pressure to yourself. Like your parents, weren't not the ones that apply that pressure.
Yeah.
You wanted to do it for you, which I really appreciate from people with like sleep, like lead sleep, because like you're applying the pressure for yourself. I find myself like losing motivation, and then it takes me some time to like get it again. Because I have sleep class, because I don't take the time to like really. Dave said I don't take the time to prioritize what I really need to do.
I
Um,
see.
but like again, going back to the book again, they said that everyone has a button that when you press that button, you get like instantly motivated. It's not that button is not rational. It's like it could be if you're motivated by the tribe. If one of the tribes said something to you found offensive, that would be your motivational button, right? But for you, it could be like if you are like let's say you're an ISFP or something, or INFP, you know, like for you, like the desire to be significant is your button, like I want to
Oh,
be the
I
best.
see.
So what would you say is your FI button that like when you press it, it's like boom, you're like energized, you're motivated, you're fired up. Like no one's gonna stop you to achieve this goal that you set for yourself. Like you have one of those buttons.
It's kind of hard because it's sort of muddy, I would say. One thing is maybe like in terms of like my musical sort of career or trajectory, like if I listen to like my favorite pianists, then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I want, or if I think about like the type of future I want, like, oh, I want to play this kind of music, then I'll think about it, then I'll be really motivated to then be like, okay, you have to sit down and practice now. You don't get there from doing nothing, you know? So thinking sort of about, I guess, future idealistic sort of images or that sort of point helps motivate me. Yeah.
Because you're play last, do you are you curious about other people, or do you not care? Because Dave always says that he's played third, and he just like because we had a coaching call I think back in April, and
Mm-hmm.
he said to me that when he talks to me, it's comfortable because he says it's like because I'm high play, so it's like a back and forth conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But he said when people talk to him, he feels like there's a part of him where it's not a comfortable conversation because he just doesn't care to know anything about you. It doesn't help that he's an IJ, right? So you're still an AP, but I'm curious. Like, are you curious about other people? Like, do you want to ask them questions and learn more about them?
Yeah, I think sometimes, especially if like the person already seems interesting, but I think where I draw the line is um I don't want to be involved with your self-growth if you're not motivated to grow as well. So like it'd be interesting to like sort of talk to some people, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be like too involved in your life, you know. Don't want to like nag you or tell you what to do.
How would you assess whether that person is worth your time essentially
Huh.
to go out of your way to like help them with their growth or not? Like, how do you know when they're growth mindset or not?
I think one metric I've used is like how interested they are in OPS. Sort of when I explain at a high level, like single decider versus single observer, or like the human needs, not even like the functions as much. Like one of my friends is actually, she doesn't know the system that well, but after I like explained to her, she's like, oh my gosh, this explains all my life problems. I think she's an EJ, so she was like, yeah, this cycle totally applies to me. And like I could tell that she's pretty growth mindset because she was like motivated to work on her sleep. I think she has sleep low. And
Yeah.
so there's like pandemic, she was talking about how it was really hard for her in the beginning to do more sleep, and then as she got used to it, she felt her life getting better. And she was really interested in that. So
I think when it comes to EJs, that like what really bothers me is they betray themselves all the time. Like it really, like I have a high play, right? So it bothers me even more. Like I can't tell you how many ENFJ friends I've had where like when I grilled them long enough, they can actually tell me what they want.
mm-hmm.
And then we set aside a plan to like get them to achieve it. And they're like all fired up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like a few weeks later, they threw in the trash can already. And You know, they're like
Oh,
serving the tribe. They completely avoided what they wanted to do, and
mm-hmm.
you know, it just like
Oh
pisses me
man.
off so much.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if you've ever, but you kiss your play last. Maybe you don't have that attachment to them achieving their goal. You don't care. Like, is that right, or is there a
Yeah.
point?
I would say I like care a little less, but also with this particular friend that I know is probably an EJ,
Yeah.
I haven't seen her do that yet.
Okay.
So I haven't gotten that experience yet, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Maybe it happens to me more because like I'm play first, so I tend to make friends with tons of people, right? So
Yeah, I have like five, so.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So because I know so many people, it's like I've been disappointed so many times with so many people. And
Oh
usually,
man.
like who's the kind of person that would be eager to hang out with you, and it would probably be an EJ, right? So you know,
That kind of makes sense, yeah. Because I'm so like mopey. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I love hanging out with IPs. They're
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite people to hang out with, but they're kind of annoying in the sense that they won't hang out in a group setting. It's always one on one. So
Interesting.
they think there's no value to like group settings, which I completely disagree because I've seen some of my IP friends go to a party and they're having more fun than everyone else. So, like,
The heck?
have you ever experienced that where like you're like dreading to go to a party or like a social event because they're like, there's gonna be so many people, it's gonna be so draining. You get there, like, oh my God, I'm having so much fun.
I'm sure there has been that, like definitely. I just can't remember like a specific event about it. Um, yeah, I can't recall a specific event, but I'm sure that's happened like multiple times. I was gonna say something like totally forgot, but if I remember, I'll bring it up.
Yeah, well, throughout this conversation, I've forgotten a lot of questions that I thought was an important one. It's gone, and I'm annoyed.
Yeah, it's like it's smoke now. Oh,
So annoying when that happens.
oh, wait, I remember. It's about like I think hanging out in group settings.
Yeah,
Yeah, you mentioned how like your IP friends don't see the value in like hanging out in big groups. For
yeah,
me, I think it's like stimulus overload because in like a big group, there's like so many personality types that like different things or prefer different things
yeah.
that for me it's hard to like gauge like, oh, how should I act or what should I say for this like group dynamic. And so I think that's why group hangouts are like can be exhausting and I kind of prefer one-on-one a little more. So, yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, for me, I like both. So, like, I'm okay with
Mhm.
one or group.
Mhm.
But I think there's a time and place for both.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like I don't think like being in a group setting necessarily dilutes the quality of a conversation. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, like a lot of IPs from what I've seen, them telling me is that they want a deep conversation, but you can't have a deep conversation in a group setting, which I completely disagree. I think you could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. That's what I think too.
Um, you are visual also. Talk about your ability to learn from your visual
Visual
powers, I guess you could say.
visual powers. I guess I can technically learn from like reading a textbook. It's the first thing that comes into mind. What's about visual? I mean, like sometimes if I have to memorize things, I can just take like a super fast like snapshot in my brain, but it'll disappear within like 2 minutes if I don't actively refresh it. Um, Other than that, I don't have much for visual. Maybe like my spatial visual is like a little better than some of my friends, just from, interacting with them and stuff. I think one time one of my friends was like, I have trouble drawing this chloroplast in like this dimension. And I just looked at it, I'm like, oh, I think it's just gonna be a couple circles. And she's like, how can you see that? I'm like, I don't know, I just kind of rotate it in my head. So that's another aspect.
Your T is feminine, and I want to just loop back to
Mm-hmm.
it. When you're dealing with a tribe, because it's feminine T, and you're trying to execute something for the tribe so that it works for them, are you a little bit insecure with that because it's feminine? Like you're not quite sure if that's what they want, so you'll want to prod first, ask them. You're not going to enforce that they should do
Oh.
this. You're gonna say, is this what you want to do? Like, is this like is there like a sense of like insecurity when it comes to executing for the tribe?
Oh, that's interesting. Huh. So when you bring up that, I automatically think back to like when I was in my sorority and I was like in charge of like managing the emails or like the finances. I guess those were more independent, so I was like not as. Oh, I see. So when I was first learning about the finances of the sorority, you know, like how to track that, I was like a little bit insecure about that because I was like, did I miss any information? I guess that's sort of an observer thing.
Yeah.
Um, rather than did I TE this right? Um, yeah, no, I would say like the logic side, if because I originally thought it was like savior, so it feels like I've been using or practicing TE, especially because I'm in like the STEM field. I've had a lot of practice using just the T side of my brain, so I don't think I'm as wishy-washy with it.
Gotcha. Um, Before the interview started, you had some questions for me about
Hmm.
human FI. What was your question again?
I think it's like, how does it feel to have masculine FI from your point of view? Because I thought I had demon masculine FI, so.
So what's this like demon masculine FI? Because I have demon masculine.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, I think when I was in my 20s, I think I've seen like a lot of my friends, it seems like they are already on their way to
Hmm.
building a career that,
Hmm.
that they like or suits them. And I was still in that like mode where I was still searching. I don't
Hmm.
think I found it until I was in my late 20s, you know?
Hmm. See.
Like I was definitely curious and obsessed with that FI because I turns out it was a demon, right? Because I remember clearly when I was 17 and 18, 19, my first job was Burger King, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't have that self-confidence to assert myself and tell them what I wanted, you know, because I was a good worker, but I didn't have the confidence to tell them, hey, you know what, I want to work in a drive-through because I like it and I'm good at it. Or hey,
Hmm.
I want to work in cashier because I'm fast in cashier, I like it,
Hmm.
I'm good at
Hmm.
customer service. So
Mm.
I kind of just I felt like I didn't deserve to work in those places because I felt like those positions were more like high status. So I felt
Hmm.
like I was lower status and I needed to work in the kitchen and like make
Oh.
like chicken burgers and
Hmm.
burgers. Like I was good at making burgers too, but I didn't like working in the kitchen. I wanted to work
Hmm.
here, right? So I think that was the first time that like I think it was like when I was a little bit older, I kind of reflected back to that moment and I was like, oh my God, I just didn't want to assert myself. You know, I was such a pushover,
Hmm.
you know. I was working
Mm.
in Starbucks too in my 20s, like early 20s, working in Starbucks again. Didn't have the assertiveness to tell people what I wanted.
Hmm.
You know? So
I
like it
see.
wasn't until like my late 20s where like I decided to go all in that, and it was like
Hmm.
it was a completely different experience that I had, which I thought
Wow.
I actually thought I was like such an asshole too when I started using it. Like
Hmm. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah.
yeah, like for example, I would work in Starbucks. Like I got a job again temporarily in Starbucks when I was in my late 20s, just for like Christmas time because I wanted some extra money. I wasn't
Hmm.
planning on staying long. So clearly, you know, as you can tell, I'm already becoming more selfish, right? My FI is it's like, yeah, it's like I'm gonna go there, work for 1 month, quit. You know, I don't care to spend, you know, spend money interviewing,
Hmm.
training me. I don't
Yeah.
care. I'm just gonna go there, get my money, get out, right?
Hmm.
And I remember going to work and then I have some coworkers that I guess they have like MDE, like masculine with a tribe, and they're
Oh, I see. Okay.
trying to boss me around, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, they're like, yeah, can you do this? I'm like, no, and I just, and I'll just like sit back in the counter and
Wow.
like complete asshole, like
Damn.
because I didn't want to do it, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and they would get like pissed at me, and I'm like,
Hmm.
and you know, I'm still tribe above self, so there's like part of me that's saying you went too far,
Hmm.
but there's a part,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. You gotta stay here because you don't want to do it anyways. So just
Hmm.
gotta hold your ground.
Hmm.
I thought that like I was vividly aware of that inner struggle that was happening inside me.
Hmm.
But like, no, you have to choose yourself. You're not gonna choose this person. You're never gonna see this person again, anyways. You're
Oh,
working
yeah.
for 1 month.
Yeah.
You're not there to build a good relationship with this person. So f this person.
Mm.
Just do what you want.
Yeah.
But then there's still a part of me that felt like a complete asshole when I did it. So like, and then I actually got to the point where like I typed myself as consume, play, blast, sleep, and then Dave was like, you're not consume first. You're not lead FI. I was like, why? I'm such a selfish person because I keep choosing myself. But later on, when I reflected, I was like, oh no, 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 no. That was learned.
Uh,
I did it in my late 20s. Like,
I see.
I'm still a double decider like you are, right? So
Yeah.
like, eventually you figure out your first three functions, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I thought that's kind of like how I experienced my demon FI. I don't know if that like makes sense to you or that.
Oh, makes complete sense. Yes. Because I think I also went through that struggle, with like feminine TE especially. It's like you seem like a pushover, and then like sometimes you have to tell yourself to stand your ground. But I guess the difference is that it happened to me earlier,
Yeah,
and maybe that's why it's savior.
yeah.
That makes sense.
You are. Are you in your early 20s right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it already happened to you. You've already gone through that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess what you're gonna learn in your late 20s then is serving the tribe. That's kind of like the next.
Oh, fun with play energy.
Yeah, yeah. We'd play exactly. So
Uh,
and then your end point is that NI. I guess like that's kind of like the end point.
yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
Although your NI, you have NI in the savior state with your sleep. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it's double activated, almost triple because like play is last, so sleep is like extra.
Yeah. But
Is how I think of it.
do you still fear the unknown, the future, what's coming around the corner?
Um, I mean, I don't think as much as other EPs because I sort of see how you right now can influence the future.
Yeah.
Like if you build good habits, I see how that projects into the future. And so once I know that relationship, it's the future's not that scary. Like there's still random shit that happens, but if you just like adapt and if you have a good foundation, you can weather over that, is what I think.
All right. So Kelly, I have last two questions for you. We'll wrap things.
hmm
So you already know what they are probably. So the first one is,
Yeah.
what advice can you give to fellow ESFPs with NI last who are struggling, who they are freaking out about the future? They have that anxiety that's coming from the
hmm
unknown.
hmm
Luckily for you, you have it double activated, so you could kind of see it.
Yeah. hmm
Um, what can they do if they're either missing that sleep or that blast so that they can
hmm
work on that NI better?
Yeah, I'd say like, especially if you're savor T, but even then, if you're not, you probably have it somewhere because it's double deciding. Really figure out the cause and effect between your present actions and the future outcomes. Because say you like keep eating healthy and you like exercise every day, or you want to build muscle or something like that. If you keep working out consistently with the right methods, then like eventually, like a year from now, you will start seeing results. And once you sort of like you can like apply that concept, that cause and effect concept, to like something a little smaller, like maybe something that takes over like a week. And if you can see that relationship where you do something consistently and it gives you results like in a month or like a week, then that should give you confidence to say, okay, if I do this in the present, then if I plan this out for the long term, I shouldn't be afraid of the future because I know how my present actions can affect it.
One of the common thought process though with a lot of ESFPs is I don't care about the future. I want to be happy now. So
I
like
see.
like
Huh.
how do you make them kind of overcome that, because that is something hard to get
Oh.
around. You do you have that feeling sometimes like you want to be happy now, you don't care about the future?
A little bit sometimes, but it's like super small scale. It'll be like, you know what? I just want to finish this like show right now. I don't fuck sleep, so I'll just stay up late and like watch it.
Okay,
But it's like super small scale. I feel like.
okay. So how is it just a small scale for you? Is it because for a lot of ESFPs, like they want to be happy now. There's no future, there's no tomorrow. They even have it in a lot of songs, you know. Live in a moment, like live in a moment,
Oh.
happy now. Like what clearly those songs were made by SE lead people, But
Yeah.
so how can you explain to them that no, that that NI will make you more happy, like
hmm I think you have to like consciously want to practice it, and I'd say like maybe consciously practice the concept of like delayed gratification, like in tiny, tiny, tiny steps first, and to see if it like makes you feel better. Like will it make me happier to eat this cake now or in like 1 hour or something? And maybe something happens in that hour where you do feel better after eating that cake like 1 hour later, and then that'll give you at least a small scale sense of an idea of like there's some concept behind delayed gratification that does actually work, and then just slowly start to build that up into other aspects of your life. But also you have to balance that. You can't always do that. You can't always be playing for the future because then I guess that's like the IJ problem.
yeah.
So you have to balance it, but I'd say like start really small and just want to do that. I think once you hit the point where you're sick of your saviors or whatever, then start doing that like small scale and build it up.
So you're saying they need to overdose on their savior until they've gotten enough tidal waves. They're like, you know what? I don't want this anymore.
Yeah, yeah. Or if they're like woke enough, then you just try it small scale on the side, like 5% of the time or something.
Right. I think there's something good about the SE though, because a lot of IJs, they plan for the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're wildly successful. They have like tons of money. They
Mm-hmm. Yep.
they have that perfect image that society wants you to have, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they never really live their life. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
like if you look at their life, they've done the exact same thing every day for the last 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
They have no they didn't live their life. There's nothing. There's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so but then the other argument is that they were happy doing the exact same thing over and over again for the last 40 years. So, like we're
Oh.
like like it's kind of like, like what if you were happy doing the same thing over and over again? Is there a point to living in a moment and living your life? Is there,
Mm-hmm.
what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think in terms of NI, they're like happy that they're working towards their future.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like, yeah, but they need to learn that like it's okay to like there's a different kind of happy associated with like eating that cake right now. And
Yeah,
then once they like actively just like try it once, if you don't like it, you just forget it. But if you just like allow yourself to try it once and you've discovered that you like it, then I guess that's also for like DIs, demons
yeah.
anyway. Yeah, then you can probably get a sense of that. But also, I would give like similar advice, like probably just like overdose on your saviors faster, and then you can start to get woke and like see the other side.
Well, not everyone gets woke. A lot of people just
Yeah,
think,
yeah, yeah. This is my play last talking. Like I don't want to get involved. I don't want to make you woke. Do it yourself.
yeah, it's true. That makes sense.
Yeah, that's my play last talking.
My last question for you is: do you have any questions for me about functions that I have that you don't have, like NE or SI or whatever?
Mm-hmm. I guess what is your thought process like as like a lead NE? Just like I don't have like a specific question about it, but like how does NE like work?
I'm just distracted all the time. It's really annoying. Like, like okay, like for me right now, what I need to do right now is I need to be video editing every day because COVID happened and the government is giving me
Mm-hmm.
free money, so I don't have to go back to work. I mean, I was working the past 2 weeks, coaching a kids baseball camp, which I hated. I hated this. It was good personal development because I learned how
Yeah.
to um, be more IJ like control the tribe because I have to control
Mm-hmm.
the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But
Kids, man.
yeah, they're batshit crazy, right? But like,
Yeah.
so I learned a lot. I would definitely not do it again. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to work with kids.
Relatable. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to work with kids. They're stupid. But like, like so, okay, not all of them. Some of them were cute and friendly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the bad ones were bad enough that I don't want to do it. Because
Yeah.
they're bad apples. So basically, what I need to do right now, because I was given this like rare window of opportunity to work on what I really want to work on, which is my YouTube channels. I have a
Mm-hmm.
travel one and I have ENFP mail, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I need to be filming videos. I need to be editing them and publishing them. So that's what I need to do. And essentially, in the ideal world, I would be an IJ.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
and for the whole duration of COVID until the COVID pass, and as long as the government's willing to give me money. Like obviously, when the government stops that, then I just do it less. But
Mm-hmm.
I need to do as much as I can right now because I can. But I burnt out. So back in June, I stopped because I was doing too much. I got sick because I'm sleep loss, so you could get sick, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm. Oh
after I got
man.
sick, I just never quite bounced back, and I never got to doing it again. So that's the problem with the NE because I'm now distracted. I'm like, oh, I want to play this computer game, I want to go hiking,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I want to plan for the future because NE is also planning for the future. Oh, I got to run
Mm-hmm.
my errands. I'm doing everything except for the most important thing, which is work on the social media
The
channel. Because
YouTube.
if, like Jocko Willing's message is discipline equals freedom, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, I need to have the discipline to work on my social media channels. So one day I can monetize them and I don't have to work for the day jobs I have. And I can just do the things that I like to do, which is working on my social media. And that's how I would make a living. But because I'm distracted because of the NE and I'm seeing so many like stuff everywhere, you know, it's like, you know, when you open your Google, your browser and you have like all these tabs. Yeah, I have like 20 tabs.
Yeah.
And instead of like closing the tabs, I'm adding more tabs. And really what I need to do is pick the most important tab and like read through it in detail and just like stick through it, you know, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
NE is being a jerk, you know, so I'm trying to, I'm still figuring out a way to, you know, keep it on hold and go to my FI/SI and just like focus. So it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I sort of found out is that when you swing over to like the other side, if you do it too much, then when you swing back, or I guess a better way to put it is like sometimes like you'll swing too hard and then you have to learn how to like balance it, you know, between like your saviors and your demons. It's kind of vague actually. But I just always found out like I guess with like for example like health and like diet and stuff, like diets, when people go on diets and they go too restrictive, then they like swing all the way back and they like regain all the pounds. The tricky part really is to like find that like middle ground where you like sometimes you still like swing but the swings are like smaller. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I'm working on that. Like back in March when COVID happened. So I work in the fitness industry, but I'm not like super fit. I was super fit at one point, but you know, like when I started, when I started working as a personal trainer, you know, like first I got a girlfriend, and then you know when you have a girlfriend, you eat out a lot, and then I started hating going to the gym because I that was like that's where I work. So
I see.
After work or before work, I don't want to see it. But then when I go on vacations, one of my favorite things to do is actually go to the gym. So I still love it. I just don't.
Wow.
Yeah. Like let's say I go on a different country. I'm staying in a hotel. One of my thing I'm looking forward to is what does the hotel gym looks like? You know, like you know. So that's in my FI box, right? But if I have to do it for work when it's an obligation, now I don't want to do it, right? So now I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm trying to do it like the way that you mentioned it, like. When you swing, it's a small swing because I would actually do what you just said, where 2 weeks I would eat 100% clean, and then the next 2 weeks I just eat 100% bad. You know, there's no, and I just whatever I lost, I gain it all back. So now I'm trying to do like small increments. Like okay, every day I'm gonna eat one food that I like, and then now, but I'll do my best to eat clean. And my goal for 2020 is to have a net loss.
Ooh.
It doesn't have to be like a big, like, oh, I lost 20 pounds.
Yeah, you know, it could be like 2 pounds.
Yeah, if I lose 3 pounds, you know what? Good enough.
Yeah.
I made the progress.
Yeah, you're on track, I would say.
Yeah, and so me and my girlfriend has kind of been doing that right now, and it's kind of like really interesting because we started back in March, like end of March, and right now we do eat like shitty food, but when we do stuff on a scale, there is a net loss, and net loss is. It's like, you know, it's just 3 pounds, but it's a net loss, you know?
Yeah.
It's more sustainable, you know?
Yeah. You're still able to like eat your junk food, but you're still like progressing to your goal.
Yeah. And I'm trying different things out. Like, okay, do I need to work out first on the days of eating bad food? Like, you know, like those kind of things, like I'm kind of.
Oh, like, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know?
And I think it depends on your body type too. So.
Yeah.
Kind of like genetics, maybe.
Well, we're Asian, right? So we're going to be.
Yeah.
Predisposed to be more like ectomorphic or mesomorphic, so I think
so I guess that's lucky in some sense.
Yeah, we can get away with more crap food than like if you.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So one thing I noticed is that I think Asians are like less able to take lots of like fatty or rich foods as a result than say like European.
No, I can go crazy on fatty food. I'm okay.
That's nice.
I can't have dairy though. I'm completely lactose intolerant. So.
Oh yeah, that's also the other one. Lactose intolerance. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm more sensitive to carbs. So if I have more carbs, I gain weight really quickly.
I see.
Like I can almost pig out on fats and protein. I'm okay, but the moment I have like maybe more than like a, you know, small palm full of rice, I'm gonna gain weight.
It's
Yeah.
kind of relatable, actually. Yeah.
I don't know if that happens to you, but my girlfriend, she can have carbs and protein, but it's fats that gets her, you know. She can't have too much fats, you know.
I'm starting to, yeah, I think I used to be able to think that I could take a lot of fats, but not really. So I'm experimenting with like maybe upping carbs just a little bit and like decreasing even like protein by a little bit, you know. And I know my friend who's also Korean, she really can't take like high fat, high sugar because it just messes with her system altogether.
Well, I think sugar is universal. Like everyone is gonna get killed by sugar, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But like when it comes to fats, protein, and carb, it seems like everyone has a different ratio on what
Mhm.
works for them.
Mhm.
So, I don't know what your ratio is, but like
Yeah.
I guess you're working on that right now to figure out the ratio. But
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either, but I do know that like carbs definitely has to stay like below 50% or something
yeah, even
for
40 is
sure.
pretty high already. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. Maybe so I used to be like less carbs and now I'm like experimenting with like upping the carbs
yeah.
just a little bit, but not like potatoes, more like leafy greens or something, you know.
Well, those are different though. That those fibers,
That's also true.
yeah, they're like I think you can pig out on vegetables. Nothing will really happen to you. Like
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
yeah. All right, Kelly. Thanks for doing the interview and thanks for doing it on camera.
Mhm. Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Do you feel better now with the camera? Like it's okay?
Yeah, I mean, like once the video gets posted, I'll just like try not to think about it, how
Yeah.
it's on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay. All right then. Well, thanks for coming out. So bye everyone.
Yep.
Bye to Kelly.
Mhm.